Value is a funny thing, often realized too late. People take for granted the light that shines on them until darkness claims the room. There were moments when your worth was ignored, moments when your kindness was dismissed as weakness, and your loyalty exploited, like a well they never thought would run dry. They acted as if your presence was a given, as if your gifts were owed. But nothing in this world is free, and the bill always comes due. You walked away, and the light faded. Now, the shadows wrap around them, cold and suffocating, a reminder of what was lost. Your laughter, your energy, your unwavering support. All these things were poured out like wine at a feast where only takers sat. They feasted, gorged themselves on your generosity, never stopping to think of the cost. But you were never a bottomless well, never an infinite source. They drained you until there was nothing left. When you finally walked away, they didn't even realize what inside us. I'd lost at first, but emptiness has a way of creeping in, of gnawing at the edges of those who thought they were rich in love, only to find they had squandered the best parts. People love to replace. They think the world is full of substitutes, that anything can be replaced with something shiny and new. But your worth was never about things. It was the way you made others feel, the way your presence transformed spaces, brought warmth, brought life. The void you left isn't something a trinket or a new face can fill. It's a black hole, a gaping absence that mocks every attempt to pretend that life can go on unchanged. Emptiness has a voice, one that echoes in rooms where you used to be. There's a poetic tragedy in realizing too late the value of what was lost. Regret is a slow poison, one that spreads through the veins and turns the heart cold. Every reminder, every place you used to stand, becomes a memorial to the love they failed to nurture, to the loyalty they let rot. They walk through life haunted, trying to pretend they aren't feeling the weight of loss. But it's there, like a noose tightening ever so slowly, a lesson learned too late. People forget that some losses can't be undone, some wounds never heal. Your worth was never in grand gestures or loud proclamations. It was in the little things, the small moments of understanding, the quiet presence that spoke volumes. Those who didn't value you never realized how much you gave, how much you held together with your strength, your patience, your love. When you left, it all fell apart, piece by fragile piece. What was once warm is now cold. What was once full of life is now empty. They wander, ghosts of who they used to be, trying to find a light they extinguish themselves. People who take others for granted often live with an arrogance that blinds them. They thought you would always be there, always be willing to give, to forgive, to understand. But even the most loyal hearts have a limit. Even the strongest souls grow tired of being underappreciated. When you closed the door, when you walked away, the silence was deafening. Arrogance turns to confusion, then to sorrow, and finally to a deep, aching emptiness that never quite leaves. It's the price of not valuing something irreplaceable when it was right there in front of them. The world has a cruel sense of humor. People who once treated you as disposable often find themselves feeling like that very thing. Karma has a way of leveling the playing field. Those who didn't value you now feel the sting of being undervalued in turn, experiencing the cold reality of being left out in the dark. It's a cycle, a vicious one, and they find themselves trapped in the very void they once pushed you toward. Now, it's their turn to taste the emptiness, to live with the echo of the care they took for granted. Life keeps moving, but not for those who are haunted. They are stuck, trapped in a loop of what-ifs and if-onlys. Every happy moment feels a little less joyful, every victory a little more hollow. Regret changes people, ages them, turns them into something less than whole. The haunting isn't in the memories themselves, but in the knowledge that there is no going back. They'll see your face in every crowd, hear your laugh in every room, but it's never you. Just echoes, cruel reminders of what can never be reclaimed. Moving on is a privilege, one you've earned. But for those who didn't value you, moving on is a punishment. The world keeps turning, and they have no choice but to keep up, even if their heart is heavy, even if their mind is drowning in regret. Every day is a reminder that they are living in a world without you. It's a life half-lived, a ghost of what it could have been. You found peace, but they are left with the emptiness, a constant companion, a hollow echo of the love they failed to treasure. Your absence has become a monument to your worth, a lesson in what happens when someone beautiful, strong, and rare is taken for granted, a sickness, a compulsion. The human craving for newness sparkles like a polished gem in the darkness of desire. It's that intoxicating high, the rush of something fresh, something exciting. People abandon the old and reliable for the illusion of brilliance, entranced by the glow of the latest distraction. They run towards shiny things, like moths to a flame, forgetting that flames only consume. The constant chase, the endless longing for something better, something more thrilling, blinds them to what's in their grasp. But by the time the shine fades, what they've lost is often far more precious than what they gained. The twisted irony of shiny ball syndrome is its promise of fulfillment, a lie that keeps repeating itself. People believe that the next glittering thing will satisfy, will finally fill the void gnawing at their insides. But the hunger never ends. Shiny ball syndrome is a disease, feeding on the fear of missing out, on the human tendency to think that the grass is always greener, somewhere else. The allure of new possibilities eclipses the value of what's already there, and that blindness is a slow poison, eroding what could have brought genuine happiness. Humans discard with astonishing ease. What is familiar becomes boring. What is steady becomes invisible. The lure of the next best thing calls louder, a siren song that drowns out the voices of loyalty, patience, and gratitude. People trade diamonds for cheap trinkets, convinced that the thrill of novelty is worth the risk. But novelty wears off. The shine dulls, the excitement vanishes, and what's left is emptiness, a pit of regret for things abandoned too soon. People chase shiny distractions, and by the time they look back, what was real and rare has already slipped away. This dark craving, this obsession with the new, isn't just about objects. It infects relationships, too. A loyal heart, a steady love, becomes mundane. People crave drama, intensity, the rush of something forbidden or exciting. They forget that stability, the kind that comes from someone who truly cares, is a rarity. The shiny, the tempting, it all becomes a game of destruction. Relationships that could have lasted, friendships that could have stood the test of time, all sacrificed on the altar of excitement. The human mind, seduced by shiny ball syndrome, becomes its own worst enemy. The sickness runs deep, and the consequences are unavoidable. People often realize too late that the shine was never worth the sacrifice. The thing about shiny ball syndrome is that it leaves nothing but ash in its wake. The thrill burns bright, but quickly. And when the fire dies, the cold emptiness left behind is haunting. Humans never seem to learn. The cycle repeats. Chase, consume, discard, and suffer. And all the while, what they truly needed, the value that could have changed them for the better, is left behind in ruins. People betray themselves for a moment of shine. The high of something new blinds them to the damage they're doing, to the connections they're severing. The world praises this kind of recklessness, calls it living life to the fullest. But it's a lie, a beautifully packaged form of self-destruction. The heart grows weary from being abandoned. The soul aches from being discarded for something shinier. And all that's left is a shell of a person, haunted by the shadows of what was lost. The desire for the new doesn't satisfy. It devours. There's a villainous satisfaction in watching the aftermath, in seeing those who once chased shiny distractions crumble under the weight of their own choices. The sparkle fades, the thrill vanishes, and reality crashes down. It's almost poetic how the same humans, who thoughtlessly abandoned what was good and pure, end up empty, longing for what they gave away so easily. The emptiness they feel is a consequence they created, a punishment crafted by their own hands. They wanted the shine, and now they live in the darkness they brought upon themselves. People rarely appreciate what's valuable until it's gone. By the time they see their mistakes, by the time they realize that the thrill of the new wasn't worth the cost, it's far too late. Humans have a strange habit of mourning what they threw away, of longing for what they treated like trash. The pain of realizing that something irreplaceable has slipped away is a pain that cuts deep, a wound that never quite heals. And as the years go by, the regret only grows, a whisper that never truly leaves. The shine fades, the glitter turns to dust, and all that's left is a longing for what was once taken for granted. Those who never learned to value the real and the rare are doomed to a life of chasing illusions. They're empty inside, haunted by the echoes of what they let go. Humans are intrinsic problem solvers, driven by an urge to fix, to mend, to make things right. It's a deep instinct, almost primal. We notice cracks and try to seal them, see falling structures and attempt to rebuild. In relationships, this instinct runs deeper. People are willing to bend, to struggle, to bleed if it means saving something they love. But there's a darkness that lurks when someone isn't willing to fix the damage, when their apathy speaks louder than any argument ever could. It's a vicious indicator, a sign that something is irreparably wrong. The kind who refuse to fight for what matters will one day realize the cost of their indifference. Some people think walking away is easier, that the grass must be lush and verdant on the other side. It's the lure of the unknown, the fantasy of a better life, a better love. But the harsh reality is that sometimes, on that other side, there's nothing but dust and decay. Sometimes, there isn't even grass at all, only barren land that mocks their naivety. People who chase illusions will eventually confront this emptiness, realizing too late that the struggle they abandoned was worth more than the illusion they pursued. Relationships are mirrors, reflecting the best and worst of who we are. When faced with problems, some choose to shatter the mirror, thinking it will erase the flaws they see. But running from problems is a coward's game. It takes no strength to abandon something. Real power lies in staying, in fighting, in working to heal what is broken. Those who refuse to solve problems, who discard instead of repair, reveal their weakness. They think freedom lies in escape. But escape is just another word for regret, waiting to bloom. Apathy is a silent killer, more brutal than anger, more destructive than hate. Watching someone walk away from something that could be fixed is like witnessing a slow betrayal. They don't even care enough to try. It's easy to convince oneself that life will be better, brighter, easier somewhere else. But running away from problems rarely leads to happiness. It leads to a cycle, an endless chase for perfection that doesn't exist. The grass isn't greener. It never was. The fantasy was always a mirage, and reality hits hard when the illusion fades. People who refuse to solve problems never understand the value of perseverance. They think the world owes them smooth sailing, that any relationship requiring effort is inherently flawed. But there is nothing noble in abandoning something, because it's difficult. Strength is forged in adversity. Loyalty proven in the act of staying when things get hard. Those who walk away, who refuse to put in the work, doom themselves to a lifetime of shallow connections and meaningless bonds. They trade depth for comfort, and comfort is a fleeting lover, gone the moment life grows hard again. Running from problems feels powerful in the moment, like a grand escape from a prison of disappointment. But freedom gained through abandonment is a lie. The problems never disappear. They just transform, morphing into new, haunting shapes that follow wherever one goes. People who choose escape over effort will face this reality over and over, haunted by the things they didn't fix, by the people they left behind. The act of running becomes its own prison, and there's no escape from the echoes of unhealed wounds. One day, those who refuse to solve the problems of love, who thought indifference was strength, will stare into the void they created. It's not just that the grass wasn't greener, it was barren, desolate. The fantasy will shatter, and they'll be left with the realization that what they left behind had value beyond measure. By then, the chance to go back will be gone, a ghost that lingers but cannot be touched. Regret festers in those moments, a dark shadow that never leaves, whispering what-ifs in the silence. Realizing too late is a theme for those who don't value the effort required to nurture something real. The epiphany hits hard, a dagger to the heart, as they see others cherish what they discarded. The love they abandoned flourishes elsewhere, stronger, brighter, because someone else was willing to put in the work. They thought they were escaping, but they were just running toward a different kind of pain. The kind that cuts deep, the kind that whispers, "This could have been yours," but you let it slip away. Those who abandon will always end up empty, haunted by the realization that nothing worth having comes without struggle. They left, thinking they were choosing themselves, but really, they were choosing emptiness. What they failed to value now stands as a monument to their own shortcomings. Words are one thing, deeds are quite another. Words spill easily, honeyed promises and eloquent lies woven to seduce the ears and dull the mind. People love to speak of loyalty, of love, of intentions grand and noble. But words are a currency that has been spent too often, leaving behind a trail of empty vows. The world is full of talkers, those who master the art of saying everything right while doing everything wrong. Actions, though, have a way of exposing the liar, of cutting through the noise and revealing the rot beneath. Deeds never lie, and intentions are measured not in whispers, but in steps taken. Promises are like delicate glass, fragile and easily shattered. People swear loyalty when the skies are clear, when storms are but a distant threat. But loyalty is tested in chaos, in the moments when words mean nothing, and action is the only language that matters. Those who speak of love and never show it, those who make oaths but never stand by them, are architects of their own downfall. It is in the gap between word and deed where trust dies, where illusions break. People forget that speaking of intentions doesn't absolve one from the sins of inaction. There's a darkness to relying on words alone. They can be manipulated, twisted, made to paint heroes out of cowards. People use language as a shield, a way to hide from accountability, to present themselves as more honorable than they are. But deeds are relentless judges, unyielding and unforgiving. When someone claims to care, yet consistently shows otherwise, the lies become a noose, tightening around a neck that can't outrun the damage done. Actions carve legacies, while words are forgotten, like echoes lost in a storm. Hypocrisy is born from this imbalance, from the ease with which people can speak without following through. They love to hear themselves talk, to make grand declarations, painting themselves as virtuous. But words fade, and actions remain. There is no escaping the cold truth of deeds undone, of promises made in vain. People remember the betrayals, the moments when someone could have acted but chose to remain silent, motionless, and indifferent. The weight of inaction is heavier than 1,000 spoken apologies. The silence of a broken promise echoes louder than any shouted vow. People love to say that actions speak louder than words, but few truly understand the gravity of this. When someone chooses to abandon rather than fight, to leave instead of repair, their actions scream what their words never could. It's easy to claim love, to swear eternal devotion, but love is shown, not spoken. Trust is built brick by brick, not written in the air like fleeting poetry. Every time someone's deeds fall short, it's a crack in the foundation, a fracture that weakens until everything comes crashing down. And when it does, the debris is all that's left to speak for the failed promises. Words are masks, beautiful and deceptive. People can disguise intentions, pretend to care, pretend to stay. But actions, or the lack thereof, reveal the monster beneath the mask. No one escapes this. No one avoids the consequences of promises made and broken. Every time someone fails to act, fails to show up when it matters most, they leave a scar. And scars have a way of reminding everyone involved of what was lost, of what was never truly given. The damage is done, the betrayal felt, and no pretty words can sew up wounds left to fester. In the end, people regret their inaction more than their mistakes. Choosing to do nothing when action was needed is a crime that haunts the soul. Regret doesn't stem from words said in the heat of the moment, but from opportunities missed, from care that was never shown. People grow empty from the inside out when they realize all the moments they let slip away, all the times they failed to prove their love. Regret isn't about what was said, it's about what was never done, about the actions that could have changed everything, but never came. Watching someone who relied too heavily on words descend into that emptiness is a kind of poetic justice. They crafted a world with their speech, a castle made of promises, only to see it crumble because their actions never backed up their claims. There's no redemption in words alone. Redemption comes from doing, from the things people are willing to sacrifice, to fight for, to build. Those who don't act become ghosts, haunted by all the things they said, but never meant, by the love they claimed to give, but never showed. In the end, those who were left empty relied on words to do the work that only actions could. They spun stories of care and devotion, stories that now feel like cruel jokes. Actions were missing, the one thing that could have saved them. And now, as they sit in the ruins of their own inaction, the lesson becomes clear. They didn't value you. Now they're empty inside,